That
Hello, hello. Hi, Vinkel. Hello, everyone. What's up?
we have a topic which I think is going to be a really fun topic to talk about. Disclaimer: we are not the rich.
Yeah, clearly.
We are some for teacher people trying to become rich, hopefully. But let's get started. So, first things first. Siddharth,
Yeah, some
do you
stats
think rich?
first. Wait.
Huh?
Do we like? Sorry, I'm saying one or two stats. In from 2007 to 17, some 38,000 HNIs have left the country to live or work abroad.
Oh fuck! Wait, so
So
I really want to think about this. What is an HNI?
worth $1 million or more.
So someone whose net worth is more than 6 crores. Huh?
Yeah, 6 to 7 crores.
Okay.
Excluding residents, collectibles, consumables, durables, and all that, like their net worth.
मतलब साल का 60 लाख कमा रहा है भाई. 60-80 लाख
हाँ,
कमा रहा है.
ऐसा
नेट
भी बोल सकते,
प्रॉफिट्स.
बट ऑलरेडी अभी जो कमाना स्टार्ट किया वो नहीं, जिसके पास ऑलरेडी 6-7 करोड़ रुपया उसके नाम पे है, वो होता है HNI।
अच्छा. ओके.
हाँ,
सो ही हैज द लिक्विडिटी 6-7
और
करोड़
जो
का.
भी उसके, हाँ हाँ, उसके पास लिक्विडिटी हो या स्टॉक्स हो, जो भी हो।
ओके. So first thing, as you said, right? Like 38,000 people have left just
ये
last year, and let's start with the first thing. Ke, are they really leaving India? Is this a normal number, or should we really be concerned about this?
Yeah, because before 2007 or even 2005, early 2000s, firstly, there weren't as many HNIs in India, right? The liberalization happened in 91, but the effects of liberalization took at least 10-15 years to show results.
Okay.
So that you can assume that 2005 to 2010 and that dot-com boom time, and when the whole market crashed and then it started climbing again, those were the boom eras, right? So that is when
Hmm.
a lot of tech billionaires, tech millionaires started being minted, and also
Okay.
other industries. And I'm saying people from medium scale industrialists, or any businessmen started becoming millionaires. There were very few of them before, but the number of millionaires started getting accelerated at that time.
Okay.
And this was the first time that India as a country had so many high net worth individuals. And exactly at that time, people have started leaving. Like, we've not experienced what it is to have a large chunk of the population, not a large chunk, but a sizable chunk being billionaires or millionaires at least. And it
Interesting.
all
Okay.
it obviously has its consequences, right? Like, you look at countries who are developed already, right? You'll always find the number of high net worth individuals to be at least 2 to 3% of the population, right? I don't
Okay.
think we find that in India.
Over here,
And
I think it's a lot less. The I feel people talk about income inequality. I think India has one of the craziest level of income inequality.
yep, we do. And like, why are these guys leaving? I don't understand. कि मतलब अगर 40-50 हजार लोग ही है जो आर millionaires and high net worth individuals, या 1 लाख 2 लाख है, तो isn't the government's job easier in terms of making them happy? Like, I understand the government can't keep the lower rung of the population happy, but these people are, they you tell them they'll pay taxes, and they are providing jobs, they are providing economic growth, they're contributing to the GDP. Why aren't they being incentivized, or at least convinced to stay in the country, if nothing else? This is
So, before we look at the role of the government, let's try to answer this question: that what is the rich person thinking who is leaving India? Like what is going on in his head? Why the hell does he want to leave here? What
Yeah,
do you think?
interesting. I honestly don't know, dude. Like I can't why I think India is the best country to live in. I don't understand why anybody would leave India because you can do almost anything you want. So I really don't know. Like I know obviously there must be these obvious factors like taxations ज़्यादा है और bureaucracy बहुत ज़्यादा है और ease of doing business नहीं है. बट
I think it's
उसके
a more
बावजूद वो लोग अगर बन गए हैं
वो,
मिलियनर्स
वही तो बोल रहा है ये सब प्रॉब्लम तो बोल रहा है जो स्टार्टिंग में फेस होता है, ठीक है।
राइट एग्जैक्टली
जो स्टार्टिंग में फेस होता है, बन गया है भाई मिलियनर, बनने के बाद निकल रहा है बाहर, क्यों?
उसको बिलियनर बनना होगा ना यार और वो इंडिया में बोल रहा है उस दैट इज लुक डाउन अपॉन नो
So let's try to break it down. Of course, before this, we had a discussion. We went through some articles. We tried to form some thoughts on around this. So one of the main things which kept popping up when I was reading up on this, there's this Dalal Street bets on Reddit. There have been
राइट
some millionaires who have left India for not just US and all. I'm talking about other countries. So safety has been something which has popped up a lot, and I was very surprised by that. Siddharth, any thoughts on this? Like, why safety is such a big concern? Because can't they afford like a big security force?
नो डूड लाइक वी आर टॉकिंग अबाउट मिलियनर्स लाइक 6-7 करोड़ का अगर उनका वैल्यूएशन लाइक है तो अब ऐसा नहीं है कि वो he'll start carrying a security force around but that aside but I don't understand safety as in what like women safety or pollution का issue what safety issues
So I think that just human safety itself is a big deal in India even now. I don't know.
लाइफ बहुत सस्ता है अपने यहाँ पे बहुत लोग है ना
I was discussing this with my parents the other day that
Right.
when we were talking about these deaths and all and how normal it has become that every day we hear stories like this. I was like, one of the main reasons we hear stories like this is because in India life is damn cheap.
It is, yeah. And this is a recurring discussion I've been having with a few of my friends also that, uh, every day you if you are a regular reader of the newspaper, every day you open the newspaper, you'll find at least two or three news items that talk about, someone killed somebody or, so some mishap because of government negligence or because of some accident that happened which was drunken driving or hit and run and you don't really see any backlash for any of these things like it's a normal thing we've accepted it कि हाँ ये तो रोज होता है चलेगा it,
Absolutely. And I think when, say, for example, you're worried about your safety and you end up approaching the authorities about it, and once they find out that you're relatively rich,
right
unless you are rich and you have political connections,
uh-huh.
if you're just rich, right, you've figured out a skill set, you've figured out some product, or you've built a service which has made you rich, and in that pursuit, you've not really built political connections and all, I think you get looted like crazy. I honestly feel that once someone finds out that you're rich in India, especially these authorities, when the one is you get noted, like they'll you'll be monitored, and second is I think the system is not that good that they can actually take care of your safety despite the amount of money which goes in because we're a huge country, boss.
Okay, let's accept safety as one of the issues. What do you think are the other issues that that compel these guys to leave?
Next is I would attribute it to, and this is something which I have experienced, uh, is quality of life.
Yeah, agreed. That there's no denying of that. That in terms of the services and the kind of infrastructure that is available to you, I agree that there are other like obviously almost any other country is better than India right now, right? But like I said in the beginning, I don't understand why anybody would leave the country because of the freedoms we have over here as a
So
nation, right?
let's see. I wanted to talk about this. You are think At least one of the mistakes I think we are doing is we're thinking in terms of India, US, UK, China, the big countries.
Right.
But you start looking at the next tier of countries which are not that big. Most of these countries have freedoms. Because they are smaller, they are much better managed. I think the quality of life is significantly better because I feel what ends up happening is over here. And you may think that quality of life is not such a big deal. Let's take a simple example. I want to be able to go to my rooftop and say do meditation and yoga. That's a very simple thing, right? You'll be like, yeah, this is something which you should be able to do anywhere.
Right.
If I'm living in specific areas of Bangalore or if I'm living in Delhi, I can't do that. I like
Right.
legit doctors tell you that stay indoors and put air filters on.
Like if you consider the urban population, right, and because most of the living and working population is urban, all our cities are fucked, dude. Like the top 10 polluted cities, I think six or seven are India cities, right? You have all your major cities in that, like Delhi is at the top, and there's Mumbai, there's Bangalore is nowhere, it's not too far away, and there's Chennai. So urban centers, I agree, like the quality of life.
So let's move on to the next part. What else do you think of in quality of life? Water is always an issue. Electricity nowadays, one of the reasons why you can have
But all
large
these
in
things don't affect the rich, nah. That's what we're saying.
no, so this is where I disagree with you. I think they affect the rich as much as they do us normal middle
No,
class people.
dude. No,
Yes.
no. Like that's what I'm saying. Like in India, if you've got the money to pay for it, like there'll be 10 people lining up to do that shit for you. We are still a poor country. Like all the services you want, you'll get it at the disposal of your notes.
See, so you're overestimating the influence which a relatively rich person has, and you're underestimating the cost it takes to actually deliver such services. Let's take an example of electricity. In a normal country, say you live in a decent area, you'll get 24/7 electricity. In
Right.
India, you have to install a permanent genset and an
Right.
inverter backup. Right?
Everybody can't really afford that.
No, so the rich can afford it. It's a nuisance. He'll be like, साला 30 का टैक्स भर रहा हूँ प्लस जीएसटी भर रहा
Like
हूँ.
yeah, if you consider these things, obviously, like
So
I
let's
agree,
go.
like quality of
So
life.
now I've spoken about the basic stuff. So you have air quality and all. Then you have water quality and electricity. Water
All
quality
your
is a big deal.
basics, man. Like most of your basics are fucked. Roti, kapda, makan. तीनों चीज
It's hard.
कुछ ना yeah, it's
It's like
difficult.
it's still a work in progress.
Yeah.
Let's move to the next level. You're like, okay, ये सब sort हो गया. चलो, I am lucky. I live in a part of Bangalore which is very green. I don't have to worry about air. Near my home, there's like BWSSB, so I don't have to worry about water. Electricity के लिए हमारे apartment में 24/7 genset है, so I don't have to worry about power. You'll be like, okay, next, what's next in terms of quality of life? So then you start thinking, okay, I just want to go on a I don't know. When I want to go on a
जो
holiday.
Maslow's hierarchy theory निकालना, open screen share कर, go one by one.
I know. Let's do that
Your
one
answer
sec.
is no.
Yeah, let's actually open that. Oh shit! Yeah, this is gonna be fun. Okay. So while I'm opening this, Siddharth,
Yeah.
share screen, particular tab. Share. So, yeah. So I hope you guys can see. Siddharth, can you see it?
Yeah. थोड़ा zoom कर मतलब
हाँ.
can't
एक second.
read what is there.
Yeah. So let's start. So
Go on.
first is physiological. More than this, then we'll have to become small. Okay.
It's okay.
Full screen कर दे.
Physiological needs. These are
Safety
your-
needs.
Safety needs.
Belonging and love needs.
ये
Esteem
तुम-
needs.
So, belonging and love needs also people quit क्या from India कि नहीं मिल पा रहा क्या पापा ही दिला देते हैं यहाँ पे तो यार, तुम नहीं ढूंढ पाते। मैं बोल रहा हूँ ना, मुझे लेजिट नहीं समझ आ रहा है कि लोग क्यों इंडिया छोड़ के जाने की जाएंगे यार। मतलब अच्छा सही है यार अपने यहाँ पे। मस्त जगह है, कुछ भी करो।
Okay, let's break it down. So let's physiological में I think health because of the air and water and all, health is still a problem unless you're living in a tier 2 tier 3 city.
हाँ,
Safety में I think once they find out that you're rich, you will be taken for a ride by the authorities itself if something goes wrong.
right,
There's been a lot of cases where you see, police people only taking people for a ride. Forget about the actual criminals.
right.
And plus, because there are so few rich, I think you end up having a, what is that called? A red, what is that called? A target on your head the moment you cross a certain
Bullseye,
barrier.
bullseye.
A bullseye, exactly. You'll have a bullseye on your head. So I think safety is still a problem. Then let's move to the next part. So belonging and love. So this is something interesting. I really
Hey,
haven't thought
this
about
people
this.
figure it out personally, dude. Like, I don't think there's a as a
No, but I
nation
think there is
anybody
a
can
problem.
do.
I think there is a problem here also. That so as you get richer, and this is just me theorizing, okay, of course, we're at the hilltop, we're just hanging out. Let's talk about belonging and love needs. As you get richer, I feel in India, your arranged marriages end up becoming very transactional in nature. And if, for instance, you end up going with a love marriage sort of approach, and God forbid you end up picking someone who's not in your community or caste, even if your parents are okay with it, all the people surrounding you will start demonizing you and basically alienating you. What do you think?
No, man, I don't think so. Like,
No,
I'm
so
telling
I
you, no,
think
this.
I have seen this happen. I know people who've faced this shit. That where
No, but it's still like he will not give a fuck. Nah, he'll be like, "Huh, like you can fuck off. I don't care. Like he'll find
no
what
I
he wants invariably. Like,
okay.
see, I'll tell you honestly, there are see a few a few caveats. Okay, like when you're talking about the rich, these are a diverse group of people. They're not just a few specific kinds, right? There are tech billionaires, there are like startup founders, there are
Right,
higher management in companies looking to get growth, in other places. Then there are some
right,
members, there are large business families in India. There are a few members from there, who want to get a better life, or like you said, quality of life. They've been generationally wealthy, right? They're born with a silver spoon. Now they're tired of the shit that goes on in India, so they want to go abroad. They want to settle down there. Then there are like business owners and entrepreneurs, honestly, who for them it makes so much more sense to just go abroad and start running a company from there, because economically we all know that taxation in India is a bitch. Like it will not leave you till, and it is going to eat your head. It's not at all easy also, and it's high also, the tax rates, right? Other places it's not as high.
and I think even if you pay your taxes properly, they won't leave your ass.
And it becomes, if you feel like you're cheated on, right? Because you're paying the tax that they're demanding, but you're not getting the services that you should be getting. Like, tu soch yaar, like if like I think this was shown in that Humble Politician Nagraj, the movie where the guy who comes stands against Nagraj, right? He's so irritated, like he's like, I'm paying taxes, उसके बाद भी मेरे को bribe देना पड़ रहा है, खड्डा है रोड पे और पानी नहीं आ रहा है, क्या सीन है ये, है ना? So there are retirees whose kids are settled abroad. Now they don't have anybody over here, so they want to go abroad. So there's a mix of all these people. And
No, I agree. Look, whatever you're saying makes sense. I'm just trying to, build the story based on this Maslow's model and looking at it.
uh
I want to circle back to this belonging and love needs thing, and this was really interesting for me because I had a friend who had experienced uh, something very shitty.
right,
So, so Siddharth, by the way, this is the designer we work with. So his cousin is from a relatively well-off family, and for whatever reason, I told you, right? You have a bullseye on your head the moment they find out that you're relatively rich. He was
हाँ
pursued
ये सब
by.
यार बिहार में तो होता ही है यार बिहार का
Forget
किसी
about Bihar. I'm talking about freaking India in Bangalore.
हाँ
So he was pursued. So this designer's cousin was pursued by a girl, and they got married.
okay
Post marriage, immediately, she threatened the family, who very well off, very good name in the society and all that, in Bangalore. Okay, not even fucking UP Bihar and all. That if you know that the dowry laws in India are very much skewed towards women, right? So threaten the family that if you don't pay X amount to me, or
Yeah, these cases are normal, Nikhil. There are so many cases that I've also heard. Like, and these are all one-off
so
cases everywhere
this
in
is
the
a
society.
so this is like a belonging and love needs thing only, right?
So, do you think if people go abroad, like they'll meet people and they like it is so much more difficult to do this, get married, find someone when you're outside the country. When you're inside the country, it's at least it's home territory, right? You can go. So
my
they're
my
all
thought process is legally they will be protected there. I don't think India has prenuptial agreements also, as a simple example.
no, ऐसा like ऐसे तो dude arrange Indian
Look, I
marriages
don't know
are.
why you're so uncomfortable talking about this. I'm not understanding.
No, I'm not uncomfortable. I legit don't think this is the reason people are leaving. Like because I genuinely feel this is something that they pursue personally, right? So usme like we can't really like take it down as a reason. I
Okay,
honestly think
I
that
okay. Go ahead,
quality
go
of
ahead.
life, I agree, and tax, high economics, all that I agree.
Okay.
And when it comes to finding good peers and competitive and ambitious peers to work with, that is also a very huge factor. Once you're a millionaire, you want I'm guess you want people around you who are not talking about the same shit. Like you want
Right.
people who are talking about new shit, like who doing something new, doing something crazy. You want to
Okay.
spend time with people who are not, ordinary, right? So
Right.
that is a very small group of people in India. You can't find that everywhere.
Okay.
And once you have access, once you know attained a certain level of wealth, why would you live? Why would uh, not go to a place where there all these things are not available? Basic, shit like we talked about. So yeah, I think those are the reasons.
Okay. Let's move on. Let's break down esteem needs.
Uh,
So,
this is
what
where I
about
think the core of our discussion would come in where as which is being rich, like you said, there's a bullet on your head, bullseye on your head, right? So in India, being rich is looked down upon, honestly, right? Since the time we grew up in, it's an unequal society, right? So having a lot of money seems to, you know, it invariably seems like it is unfair and it implies corruption for everybody else who's looking at the ultra rich, right? You'll be like, कुछ तो झोल है, ऐसा कुछ 2 नंबर का काम किया होगा या ऐसा क्या होगा, गलत काम करके कमाया होगा. And you know that invariably the rich are made to feel guilty because of their money, because if they're showing off, because there are people who are dying of hunger also in the same country, in the same city, right? So it has
so
become taboo.
even if he wants to do an extravagant wedding, for example,
Oh
he will
yeah,
be
dude. Like, of course, like we all saw that with that. What was that?
Reddy.
Reddy's wedding, right? 550 crores. What was that? And that too, right after demonetization.
Yeah, yeah.
Insane that was. I was like, इसको बोलते हैं कह के लूंगा.
No, but okay. Now, of course, in Reddy's case, it's a special case. You know that fuck
हाँ.
all guy. The way he earned money was not right. But Um, but even if when I hear such extravagant weddings, my first thought is, why is he doing it? Doesn't he know that India is not such a big country and all that? And I start thinking along those lines instead of thinking कि boss उसका पैसा है वो कमाया है, उसको जो करना है करेगा. Like why am I and I don't want to think like this because it's his money, his right, boss. He can do what he wants with it. And
Exactly.
I don't know why that is the first thought which comes to my head. I mean, what are your theories about this, Siddharth?
About what? Like them spending? I'm like, yeah, why not? Like, dude, if somebody somebody has earned the money, like, see, I obviously personally I'm against having an extravagant anything, whether it's a wedding or any celebration. I really don't understand it because there should be some achievement behind celebration. My that is my honest take on it. If you've achieved something, you celebrate that. You're getting married, that to arrange marriage. Papa ne दिलाई है, मतलब coming back to whatever, like the whole marriage scene in India. They're celebrating birthdays and whatever. So at that aside, I am against it personally, having an extravagant thing. But that is what I said. The beauty of our country is people can do whatever they want. It's a free country. So if somebody has the means, has the money, and he can spend, why not? Like I don't see any problem in that. As a society, we'll obviously look down upon it. People will be like, "What the
Why,
fuck is
why, why,
this?"
why are we looking down upon that?
That is how we've grown up na, as a society. Like we've always been told ki ज़्यादा नहीं, थोड़ा थोड़ा. Look at the people who are below you. Don't always look at the people who are above you. We've never been taught to be ambitious. We've always been taught to be good enough, mediocre. कि इतना
Right.
कर लो बस.
Forced humility, basically.
Yeah, and in fact, it's embarrassing ambition, dude. Like if you're ambitious, if you say it out loud, or even if you have, earned that much money or whatever, you're looked down upon, dude. Like people don't like it. Like I have faced this personally in my home, like where we have a few verticals of business and we want to expand the new generation. But when we talk to our granddads and they have a certain point of view about their business, they don't want to do that. And I spoke to my brother. I'm like, what is their problem? Why don't they want to expand the business? And my my uncle had a very interesting point of view on it. He's like, see, the thing is, these guys are scared of getting rich. They fear getting rich. But they'll be like, if we, like you said, that bullseye on your head कि ज्यादा हो जाएगा तो लोगों के लिए होगा. आप जो भी ज्यादा धंधा करते हो ना, वो लोगों के लिए होता है. थोड़ा बहुत अपने लिए होता है. And I don't understand this mentality. Like, why? Why don't you want to be ambitious? Why don't you want to be the best? That is what Dhirubhai Ambani spoke about, right? Why can't we have the biggest company in the world in India? Why should we always be the second rung, third rung? And that is how a nation awakes, dude. That is how a group of people, get up from their slumber. You need such people to wake them up. The equity cult of India started because of that one guy. Otherwise there was no equity, there were no equity markets in our country, right? He single-handedly promoted having participating in the equity markets of the country. And that was a result of ambition. He told कि पैसा दो और पैसा कमा के दूंगा, तुम्हें अमीर बना के दूंगा. एंड उसमें
Right.
कोई बुरी बात नहीं है यार. But as a country, we are obviously looked down upon it. Like, what explains this need to cling on to our virtuous middle class roots? Like, I don't understand. What is this deal of having just enough? इतना बहुत है, अपने को ज्यादा नहीं चाहिए.
I agree with this. I think this esteem needs, I mean, again, bringing back the Maslow's chart, this esteem needs is a very big contributor, I feel, that why they
Yeah,
are leaving
because
India.
you once you're a millionaire, you want to think big, right? You want to go to the next
Yeah,
level. You want to go become a billionaire now.
right,
You want to expand globally. That kind
yeah,
of infrastructure simply does not exist in our country. You can't
right.
operate a multinational company from India. Like I'll be surprised to see how many MNCs have their head offices in our country. I don't think so. Like I hardly, you can count them on your fingertips if I'm not wrong. So that clearly shows that how much we nurture ambition and growing and encourage economic activity. We don't. We want, and this also might be because, see, we are a young country, firstly, right? And most of our population has now graduated to the middle class. Today, the majority of the population is middle class. That was not the case 30 or 40 years ago. At that time, the majority of the population was lower middle class or below. They were not in the middle class, right? So as a population, we have just entered middle class, I think. So I read a very interesting take by an investor, and he said India has not seen a consumer market yet. Our consumer market is non-existent, and he's right. Like, there is so much, potential to untap when it comes to the consumer market in India. We are 1.3 billion people. अभी क्या है लेटेस्ट मतलब अर्निंग्स का? जस्ट ट्राई एंड सी इफ यू कैन फाइंड हाउ मच.
While you're searching that, I have another thought,
या.
and maybe I'm completely off the mark here. I'm just, I have my conspiracy brain being activated right now. That what you just said, that this middle class value is extremely important. I forget which publication this was. This was a very well-renowned publication, and they wrote a very nice article that one of the reasons why British were able to rule for so long is they had appeased the rich and the lords and the landlords and whoever they were for very long, and British didn't have to do much to keep people in control.
Yeah,
When you really think about it, the independence was not necessarily independence against the British, but independence against this entire feudal system.
Yep.
And I'm thinking along those lines, that the reason why we have a deep-rooted hatred towards the rich. Because, okay, so why did I think of this and when did I read up on this? I think about 4-5 months back, I had gone to Udaipur for a small trip.
Right.
I wanted a place to chill, and in terms of, the reason I chose Udaipur was, one was I didn't want to go anywhere close by because I think at that time it was very rainy or something, I don't know, in Karnataka. And second, I wanted to go somewhere which is where I can reach by flight. I didn't
Right.
want to travel on the road. Now, why am I telling you all this? Because the flight ticket to Udaipur was like $3,000,
Right.
which is pretty much, same as me going to Hyderabad or whatever, like one of these close place cities. And Udaipur is a destination, like it's supposed to be a good destination. I was like, okay, I'll get to see some incredible palaces, and I went to Udaipur,
Right.
and we're going around the city, and I'm looking at one palace after another, masterpiece after masterpiece. Some of the best architecture I've seen in my life, some of the best interiors I've seen in my life. Extravagance, the word extravagance felt short.
Yeah, of course.
Right, so I'm spending my time there, and I'm reading up on some of the, like, why is this monument created, or why this palace was created. And in Udaipur, one of the places where I went to was I think the Sajjangarh Fort, which is like the winter palace.
Right.
So we go up there, and it's a beautiful palace. The view is amazing. It is so scenic, and they are describing of how the king of that time, this particular palace was built during the British Raj. Okay, so
Right.
this was not built long ago. And the king of the time, they were describing his life, and he would be like, in the bathrooms, to give him a shower like experience, there would be people standing on top with buckets full of water and pouring it on him to give him a waterfall shower. It's like, fuck. I was like, what the hell are you talking about? Okay. And then they tell, so why did he build the Sajjangarh Fort or the palace? And the reason he built it was he wanted to experience the meadows from this point of view. I was
Yeah.
like,
Yeah, totally
what the
justified.
fuck? Like, what do you mean justified?
Yeah, he's
I'm
Raja.
like, are you serious? So
भाई.
then I start thinking. I was like, okay, Raja, hey. I started trying to value, okay, what is the worth of this palace and all, and I could like having the construction, and my wife's an architect, so I could ask her, what would it cost to do this, do that, etc. And she said this project is easily a 150 $200 million project in today's value, probably more. And
Dude,
that's when I start searching that where did they make the money from, and that's when I stumbled upon this article that more often than not, British would just focus on appeasing these rich folks, these kings, these princely states. Probably the next level after them, the next level would be a lot of different landlords who would own huge plots of land, who would hire these, farmers or laborers under them.
right.
And I think, I think this is one of the reasons why we look down upon the rich. That this entire exercise of having experienced this system, uh, what are your thoughts, Siddharth? What do you think about this?
They got their money from taxing the laborers and the
So what would
farmers, right?
happen, what would happen was they would carry out the collection activity for the British,
Huh. And they
and they
paid
would get a
the.
big cut.
Yeah, exactly.
And they were the ones who were responsible for keeping a lot of the folks under check, and British made sure that these guys had a lot of powers and all that.
Yeah, so that was a system they employed throughout the country. They controlled very few
Yep.
territories themselves. They did this everywhere.
Yep.
And also, see, this is these guys, the princely states and the kings, they were not rich after the British arrived, right? They've been rich for a long time. These guys who have become a princely state, or because उस time idea यही था कि each and every person who's growing something will come and pay the king a tax, है ना? The
Right.
king will decide how that tax is supposed to be used.
Right.
तो conflict of interest घंटा, है ना? उसको पैसा जो बचता होगा वो, अब हर आदमी अलग है ना, कोई बढ़िया राजा है, कोई कैसा है, बट ओवरऑल आर्क तो इतना रहेगा ना कि जितना भी आएगा उसमें से मेजोरिटी किंग ही रखेगा, जो
Correct.
माइनॉरिटी बचा है वो खर्चा करेगा, और हर
Right.
साल आ रहा है, एक बार नहीं आ
Right.
रहा है
Right.
है ना?
भारी भारी सब्सक्रिप्शन बना है ये तो,
और प्लस
नेटफ्लिक्स का
there
बाप
are
है ये.
all these kingdoms had tradesmen, businessmen also. There were some kingdoms which had crazy artists and
Right.
artisans and craftsmen, right? Everywhere there was something or the other happening in India. So most of these guys were rich. You bring out any princely state and you take out, you look at them at least 50 years or 100 years ago. They were rich as fuck, dude. They didn't have to care. Like, that is why you have these hunting lodges everywhere. You have summer
Yeah.
palaces, winter palaces. You have fucking three, three, four,
I,
four.
I went to I went to a garden in Udaipur, and this was it's a beautiful garden. The architecture is on par with some of the best places I've ever been to. And the
Right.
reason the garden was constructed was the queen wanted a place to hang out with her friends. It was like,
Yeah, dude. Ajay, Arey Baba, see, you can't. Abhi, see, right now, what is making us laugh at all this is we think all this is extravagant, right?
yeah,
But for them, it wasn't. It was justified. You need to understand.
how
They are
is
the.
it justified?
Abhi, you think it
No,
is
so
extravagant because we live under a democratic system all over the world. There are hardly any kings left. है ना?
so no,
There is
so
multimedia.
what
Everybody can see everybody.
the
All
point
of
I'm
that.
trying to make is this, that the majority, by a major margin, saw rich like this,
हाँ.
abuse their financial power, abuse their political power,
Yep. Yep.
abuse every last bit of all these things,
Yep.
and literally fuck people over, dude.
Yeah, and no
Like,
doubt they are looked down upon now, obviously.
yeah, so this is the image of the rich in a person's head in India today.
Yeah,
And what are your
even
thoughts on
like
that?
even caste, even subcastes and subcastes, dude. Like our caste as a caste,
Yeah,
like the Baniya caste, Marwadi caste. You go to
right.
any major city in South India or Calcutta or anywhere, there is a specific slang for Madus. Everybody has their own version of it, and more often than not, it is a derogatory slang. Because
Right.
according to them, we come over to their place, we start giving them, money on interest, we take interest from them, and interest is not justified in a lot of societies and cultures all over the country, right? A lot of people look down upon charging interest. They think it is evil for some reason, I don't know.
Right. Right.
And because the Marwadi doesn't shy on taking interest, they are targets. There are bullseyes on them. They are called names, and all of that.
Right.
And this is not now. Marwadis have been doing this for centuries, and they've been getting hate for centuries. And the same for anybody who tries to get rich or is rich. Like you said, like because they've seen, because the majority of the population has seen the rich misuse their power and fuck around with them. So obviously, people, and adding to that, because of that, even the policies of the state are against the rich. You understand? Because most
Yep.
of
Yep.
the
Yep.
most of the state is built up of these people.
Yep. And I don't know. So if you talk from a strictly traditional sense, I don't think BJP is a right party. A right party generally prefers corporations and prefers lowering the taxes for the rich and all that. A left party is more liberal in the
Right.
traditional Western sense.
Yeah.
BJP is not really a right or a left party.
It's
if you
a
think about it.
hybrid
It's
for a few
it's
reasons.
its own like I
Yeah.
think there's this very nice lawyer on YouTube you should check out who speaks about this. It's its own Indic system, its own sort of
Their
division.
own translation of it. Not even Indic.
So I think the esteem bit, right? The esteem bit is a major reason why they are leaving. Anything else you want to add in esteem? If not, we'll move to the next part, Siddharth.
No, I think that's just about our whole society looking down upon ambition. I think we need to change that.
Yeah. Ambition is good, and there's this very nice line. I forget which movie. Greed, for the lack
Greed
of
is
a better
good.
word,
Is good.
is good.
Yeah, it's Wall Street. Gordon Gekko.
So, oh yeah, right. Let's move to the next part, which is cognitive needs. So, cognitive needs, guys, is basically trying to improve your own intellectual ability, trying to improve your own understanding, trying to
वो नहीं
move
मिलता
towards a more
है
scientific society.
इंडिया
You
में
don't
तो
get it.
नहीं मिलता है कहाँ मिलेगा
Absolutely.
तो
Absolutely.
जाना ही
India
पड़ेगा
में-
like
yeah.
there's like there is no focus on innovation. Like we want to become
Yeah.
the back office of the world, and no
In
qualms
fact,
about it.
the only innovation which has really happened is related to software and tech products because the investment and risk appetite needed is very, very low when you're building a software or a tech product. I blame myself for it. I have tried doing a manufacturing startup, I've failed miserably and I have shut it down. But my next attempt, I'm very clear that I'm never going to touch manufacturing in India. I'm going to touch only software because I know that the risk factor is so low.
अब
And
यही exactly तू बाहर होता ना तो you wouldn't have been so invariable, you wouldn't have been so shy of trying another manufacturing startup because
Right.
the society is also fine with failure. First of all, India, we are not at all fine with failure. Oh, this is one thing we
Right.
need wait before we move on. Failure is not celebrated to chodo, it is looked down upon harshly. So
Yeah.
because of that, our risk appetite is so low. It is so low.
Right.
People don't try, dude. People don't try stuff. People are so afraid of failing, and
Right.
because it has been ingrained in them कि बचपन से कि फेल नहीं होने का है, कुछ भी
Right.
हो जा, पास हो जा, कैसे भी हो जा, या फिर फेल नहीं होना, फेल होते ही तो खत्म है मतलब. And this happened with me, you remember, like for the first time this was in 12th in second PUC, and the first time in my life I had this strange relationship with maths, and I've spent hours doing maths with Nikhil at his home, and
Right.
I
No,
failed.
and I'll tell you the biggest, so coming to that part, like the biggest problem over that point, and I was telling, I tried so much to explain to Siddharth even at that time was the fact that you happen to fail has created this massive mental block.
Yeah.
And the mental block is the reason why you're still screwing it up.
That time
It was not because of a lack of an intellect.
Yeah, no, that it's not that didn't carry with me only, but that's what I'm trying to say. I got over it very instantly, because I remember I came home and I was so embarrassed that for the first time in my life I failed at something, right? I remember I got 16 out of 100 in maths. This was pre boards
25,
in
25.
25.
In
Yeah.
midterms, midterms, I
Midterms, half
remember.
yearly, yeah, yeah. And
Right,
I was
right.
shaken. I didn't talk to anybody. I was like, what the fuck? This has never happened to me. How can I fail?
Siddharth is your
I don't know.
Siddharth is your typical overachiever, guys. Like he's killed it in academics, killed it in athletics in his school times.
This is all only school, college times. After that, it's only chilling. So yeah, coming back to this, so I failed, right? And I was so fucked, like mental. I was like, what the fuck? And I came home, and the first call I did was I called my dad and I told him, like, dad, I failed, and I started crying, and his instant reaction was, so. एंड इज लाइक तू रो क्यों रहा है, तू पागल वागल है क्या? अब लाइक नहीं पापा मैं फेल हो गया,
Right.
लाइक तू पागल पास हो जाना ना फाइनल में, चूती है क्या, रो क्या रहा है? एंड आई वाज लाइक why am I like, it's not like I'm dumb, it's just this happened once, it's okay, fuck it. It was so
Yeah.
easy for me because my dad was so supportive, right? He was like, dude, calm the fuck
That's
down, it
not the
just
norm.
happened.
That's not
It's
the
not
norm,
the
guys.
norm,
He's
exactly,
just
yeah.
damn lucky. I am telling you, other
Yeah,
people would have been demonized. They would have called
yeah,
upon. They would have
dude.
told stuff like, "Tu mera beta
See,
hi nahi," and all that shit.
हाँ, ट्यूशन वूशन जाओ, ये क्या है, 12वीं में फेल हो जाओगे, क्या करोगे आगे?
Right.
एंड दिस इज जस्ट 12th. यू ट्राई एंड इमेजिन, ये तो सिर्फ स्कूल है, nobody gives a shit about 10th 12th और डिग्री anymore, है ना? Now you bring
Right.
out the same guys who come out this education system, this upbringing की fail नहीं होना, and they come out into the world and they get employed and all of that. Most like the top rung gets employed, है ना? उसके बाद नौकरियां भी नहीं है इतनी. तो अगर उनको
Right.
कुछ ट्राई करना है खुद का, है ना, कुछ भी बनना हो, आर्टिस्ट
Right.
बनना हो, एंटरप्रेन्योर बनना हो, या कुछ ट्राई करना हो, घंटा
Right.
कुछ ट्राई नहीं
Yeah.
करना
Yeah.
है. या तो काम पे लगो, कुछ करो. दिस इज नॉट द टाइम टू मेस अराउंड एंड ऑल. एंड एज अ
Right.
सोसाइटी वी डोंट अलाउ दैट, डूड, लेट अलोन एनकरेजिंग इट. एनकरेजिंग तो दूर का बात है, वो अलाउ ही नहीं करता है किसी को यार. अपन लोग अभी भी, देयर आर पीपल हु आई नो that who had ambitions, who had dreams, who but they've been married now and they have kids. They can't do shit about it, right? अभी उनको नाइट आउट का परमिशन नहीं मिलता है यार. खुद के बच्चे बच्चे हो गए घर पे, मतलब परमिशन पूछना पड़ता है. दैट इज अ डिफरेंट टॉपिक,
Oh,
बट
this is going to be a topic we cover in detail. But yeah,
yeah,
coming to the part of failure.
failure is fucking looked down upon. Ambition is looked down upon. All the
Right.
essentials that you need to become an insanely successful person in any field, you need to fail. You need to fail 100 times, if not
Right.
less, right? You need to
Right.
have ambition. Without
Right.
ambition, there's no point trying to make it big in any field. All these
Right.
ingredients are just looked down upon. They are discouraged to have. And it is
Right.
obviously anybody who wants to kill it will want to leave the country.
No, and I also feel that this very nicely leads to my next point when I talk about cognitive needs. There is this inherent toxicity in Indian society,
Yep.
and I can assure you, you have definitely experienced toxicity. You may not know what it is exactly, but 200% I can tell you that toxicity is one of the main reasons why someone who is looking to grow, improve, maybe get better is looked down upon. What are your thoughts on this, Siddharth?
Yeah, dude, we've had an inherent toxicity, like you said, in us. I don't know because of what. I think it's hangover from the colonial times or what. I don't understand. एक तो self belief अपने में बहुत बहुत ज़्यादा कम है ना, because
Right.
we've always had this godlike entity to rely
Right.
upon, and that has been changing over the years. So
Right.
we ourselves don't believe that we are capable of magic, of extraordinary things. We don't believe that we as individuals can achieve extraordinary things. And that is
Right.
where it starts now. Like, you have to first believe yourself. Yeah, I'll do
So,
this, like wherever you are
let's
starting.
So let's talk a little bit more about this toxicity. The first way in which toxicity shows this pathetic head, and I'm sure you've experienced this, is constant guilt trips,
Oh yeah,
which you
dude.
get exposed to. Not just, and you will do this to yourself. Forget about anyone else.
Yep,
Your
yep.
parents will do this to you. Your siblings will do this to you. Your friends will do this to you. You will end up freaking doing it yourself to a point where, and I have experienced this shit myself, that if I'm trying to learn something new, explore some new activity, and you have like pointed this out to me, and I've been more mindful of it. That like a simple example is, we want, like, we're working on a cryptocurrency media channel where we want to produce a lot of content around it, and my first thought was not that okay, let's try to explore this and all. I was guilt tripping myself that मैं इसमें कुछ जानता नहीं हूँ, मैं इसको explore करना चाहता हूँ नहीं चाहता हूँ, and all that stuff. That's the first thought, and that's such a toxic thing which I'm
हाँ,
doing to myself. It's like what the fuck?
doubt
किसी को भी पता नहीं है भाई, क्रिप्टो पूरा नया है, किसको पता है?
and self-doubt. One major thing, like you
Yeah,
pointed out.
so self doubt and guilt is like a major issue. You
It
end
is
up guilt tripping
inbuilt
you.
in everybody, all of us. Like like we spoke about this in the morning also. Like even if
Right,
we've made it and we've killed it, or we want to indulge in an experience. Like you said, कि अगर 300 रुपए का अगर आइसक्रीम है या 500 रुपए का
right,
आइसक्रीम है, तो एक बार गिल्ट ट्रिप हो जाए कि यार 500 रुपए का आइसक्रीम सही में. And you shouldn't be thinking that, nah, yaar, why? Like
yeah,
it's
yeah,
okay. You want to enjoy it. Like we were
right.
talking about this before starting this podcast, right?
Right. So both of
About
us
the
were
haircut.
discussing the haircut. Yeah.
Yeah, na. And I told you, like it's good to go to a nice place, have yourself pampered,
Right.
all the, and
Right.
you're like, but dude, and it has been ingrained into us since we were kids. Like everything, most of it comes back to childhood, right? Like
Right.
most of our habits, most of our behaviors have formed in the childhood, and all of us in childhood were given this strict no when it comes to greed, when it comes to wanting more.
Basically, guys, the simplest example of toxicity is constant lens of judgment.
Huh.
Constant lens of judgment. Like every single step, every single activity of yours will be judged. Now, imagine this happening to someone who's become well off. Even
Yeah,
in
why would he
his
take
case,
that
the
shit?
fucker is not left. Yeah, he'll be like, गांड मराओ यार, मेरे को रहना ही नहीं है इधर. I can afford it.
Like
Like,
what you mentioned about, constant toxicity. Kanye had, there was a very interesting bit of that Kanye said. So,
Kanye is,
Kanye West, dude.
I don't know. Oh, Kanye West. Okay, okay, okay. The
Kanye
singer.
West, man, what the
Yeah, yeah,
fuck?
yeah. Sorry. I misheard it. Sorry. Yeah.
So that guy, so he comes in an interview and he's like, you need to stop putting yourself under pressure to be right all the time. Like imagine, like it's like you're in a you're in a constant exam. Like you never left school.
Right.
Like you're always giving an exam. Like whatever you say, you want to be right. Fuck, why do you want to be right all the time? You
Right.
don't have to be. And that is such a
Right.
liberating analogy if you think about it. Like, yeah, dude, you don't have to be
Yeah.
right all the time. It's not like school
Yeah.
खत्म हो गया भाई. स्कूल अब नहीं है, अभी अपन फ्री है. अपना स्कूल खत्म ही नहीं हो रहा है इंडिया में. लोगों का
Exactly.
जजमेंट सब कुछ स्कूल में वापस भेज देता है अपने को आसपास का, कि ऐसे कैसे ये
I
कैसे.
swear to God.
And it made so much sense to me, that like there's no pressure, dude. Like do what you want. Also, that like this is coming
You'll
from
eventually figure is
like this is obviously coming from a place of privilege, right? Me and you, we are both, having
right.
said that we are not rich, but we are at least privileged enough to afford choice in our career
100%.
options, right? We've been exploring for a
Right.
while,
Absolutely.
and we're still figuring things out. A lot of people can't do that,
Right.
and we are aware
Right.
of that. But when we're talking about the core issues that affect, eventually the rich leaving India, like all of these are contributing factors. Hey,
Absolutely.
dude,
Absolutely.
there is like uneasiness when it comes to luxury, dude. Like he wants to pay for luxury, okay, somebody who's rich, but there's not enough luxurious options as a country, as a place. Like every day, I can't go to Udaipur in a nice hotel, right? I want something luxurious near me also.
Yeah, absolutely.
And there are other, factors like the power of the Indian passport has been dropping from 2014 to 21. We dropped from 76 to 90 on the passport power index. Then there are witch hunts. Tax terrorism is some insane shit that is going on billionaires and millionaires in India.
What's tax terrorism?
Massive
Oh
taxes,
shit! कैफे
dude.
कैफे कॉफी डे वाले का जो किस्सा था.
Exactly.
Damn. Imagine someone like that has sufficient property to clear it. Fuck. I didn't think of that at all.
It's
Okay,
a
I
witch
just had
hunt,
a
bro.
reality check. Yeah. So cognitive needs, of course. I mean, it's really, really. It's sad that your cognitive ability to learn, process new things, and the second part, which is just hilarious and it's so frustrating to watch. I cannot believe how often astrologers, vastu consultants, horoscope guys, fuck, all these guys end up swarming around rich people, all
Yeah.
trying to make a buck out of it. How frustrating must it be to that guy? Imagine that guy is not at all interested in all these dumb fucks, but someone in his family will get influenced and can completely screw up uh, his mental peace, can completely screw up his. Like, don't you think this is also a cognitive issue? Like, a lot of these pseudoscience which end up influencing opinions.
Yeah, man. Obviously, like it. Now that you put it that way, it makes sense, now. Like if somebody has, you know,
And they'll
made
not
it.
go after the guy who actually built the wealth, right? They'll go after the people who are sensitive. Probably his mom, his wife, maybe a daughter or a sister, and attack or claw into that conversation.
And there's always a back channel between politicians and these religious demigods and
Right.
underworld and all of that. So it's not a big deal for them to start harassing them. Or we saw that in the
Yeah.
case of the Mumbai underworld in real estate, and I'm sure
Yep.
it's still going on. Like it doesn't come out in the papers as often. But
But I
yeah,
think this is a major issue where pseudoscience end up screwing up. I mean, it's not necessarily on this chart, but I meant in the perspective that, like, a lot of these pseudosciences, which are built by trying to leverage on your insecurity, can
right.
really screw up the peace of the family, of peace of members in your family. And the
Yep.
best way to get rid of this is get the fuck out.
Yeah, dude, and like it is just easier, right? Because there are so many
Yeah.
states. It's not just UK, US anymore, like you mentioned. Like there's Eastern Europe, there's Austria, there's Malta, there's so many. Like Africa has opened up, Australia is another destination, and all most of these places will invariably offer tax havens, like good
Right.
favorable status to anybody who's coming and investing. So why would they
Right.
not leave?
Yeah. And like obviously a lot of these demigods and all in those places, you can freaking prosecute the shit out of him and make sure that he doesn't touch your family, get freaking restraining orders. Here, if you do that, they will start. Well, you'll have a bigger bullseye on you.
Yeah, and plus, like like these other countries who are in tax havens, they also offer very lucrative opportunities to these guys. Now there are like residence permit programs. Like you invest this much amount in our real estate, and we will give you instant citizenship and
Right.
by investment. So
Right.
it's just for them. It's just change, right? हाँ ठीक है ये वहाँ पे it's just better. Let's just invest. So there's so many people, Greece, Portugal, who've been doing that for a while now. You just invest and you get citizenship. You're treated like royalty. You're giving all the tax holidays you want. Yeah, it's just easier, man.
Yeah.
And
Moving
it's
on.
the law of science now. You go to the path of least resistance. Anything
Obviously.
migrates towards that. Yeah.
Let's move to the next part, which is aesthetic needs. What do you think Maslow is referring to here, Siddharth? Aesthetic needs. Interesting. What would be what would be an aesthetic need which is not probably getting, fulfilled by the rich in India?
Appreciation and search for beauty, balance, form. I have no idea what he's talking about, dude. What does this mean?
I think you, I think I missed you.
I have no idea what he's talking about when he says appreciation and search for beauty,
let
balance.
me let me just let me just read this out. So based on Maslow's beliefs, it is stated that in hierarchy of humans need beautiful imagery or something new and aesthetically pleasing to continue the upwards self-actualization. Humans need to refresh
Oh,
themselves in the presence of beauty, nature, while observing and carefully absorbing their surroundings.
ये तो
This
घंटा ही
need
नहीं
is a
है इंडिया में.
this need is a higher level need to relate in a beautiful way with environment and leads to beautiful feeling of intimacy with the nature and everything beautiful around you. It's very interesting. This is not there in India, no ways.
तो नो
The
क्वेश्चन आस्क्ड.
yeah. In
कैसा
fact,
बाहर
we
निकलो,
are
गंदा नाला दिखता है, उसमें कोई हंस रहा है. नहीं, ब्यूटी तो नहीं है भैया. अब क्या बोलेगा आप?
even when I went to Udaipur, this was such a pitiful sight. They have 3 big lakes in Udaipur, right? So one of the lakes was absolutely stunning. It actually, spoke about being that beautiful. The other lake had almost been converted into a gutter. And I was shocked. I was like, this is supposed to be a travel destination.
Destination.
What the fuck? This is Udaipur. I don't know if you go down deeper and I think we are destroying nature and natural beauty is something which you have to learn from Indians. We are pros at it.
Even heritage, dude, like so many heritage. Like there is beauty. ऐसा नहीं है कि अपने पास नहीं है beauty देखने के लिए. But we have not
With
preserved
every
it at
beautiful
all.
sculpture,
वहाँ
with
हग
every
रहा होगा
beautiful
कोई,
sculpture
वहाँ
around.
पोस्टर लगाया हुआ होगा
No,
लोकल
no, one
पॉलिटिशियन
sec. I'll
का.
tell you. I'll tell you क्या होगा. एक मस्त sculpture होगा which will blend into the nature. The artist of that sculpture would have put thoughts, efforts. He would have put his blood, sweat, and soul. And then next to that sculpture, there will be one fellow who is also an artist and he is sculpted Manisha loves Manish.
ये तो अपने वो अप्रिसिएशन है भी नहीं अपन में, क्योंकि अपन क्या बचपन, अपन रोटी कपड़ा मकान से ऊपर नहीं आ रहे यार. क्या तुम ब्यूटी व्यूटी का बात कर रहे हो? रेनेसांस सब आना बाकी है इंडिया में भाई.
So, of
इटालियन
course,
रेनेसांस हो गया, आई अंडरस्टैंड, बट अभी इंडिया में कहाँ ब्यूटी ब्यूटी सब नहीं है. दिस तो 100% लाइक देयर इज नो क्वेश्चंस आस्क्ड कि if somebody, किसी को ये वाला नीड है तो वो इंडिया में नहीं मिलेगा, आपको बाहर ही जाना पड़ेगा उसके लिए.
absolutely. Moving on to the next part, which is self-actualization and transcendence. This I am relatively confident it's very difficult in India. Self-actualization, for those of you who are wondering, it is there is you as an individual, right? And you have created impact. So the whole idea behind self-actualization is what is the best version of you and what is the most impact you can create. And I think a lot of previous needs itself end up defeating this purpose if you're in India.
And plus, like we started at that, कि ambition itself is looked down upon. Now, without being an ambitious person, you will not realize 100% of your potential, obviously, right? And
Right.
without realizing the 100% of your potential, none of these needs will be fulfilled. Like self actualization इंडिया में possible ही नहीं है. मतलब I highly doubt
Yeah.
कोई गया, या तो
In fact,
मतलब मिस्टिक मॉन्क है वो बंदा जो हिमालय में जाके he's given fuck to the world and he's there only now. That is a different
right.
case.
Right.
But
No, and that is a completely different approach where he is committed to spirituality from day one. And there's
that is
nothing,
a good option in India. I think वैसा option बाहर नहीं है.
probably.
हाँ.
Yeah, that is something which is very doable in India. I
But
know
that
a
is
lot
if
of
you choose that path, na. If you want
Right.
to self-actualize through, becoming the best,
version of yourself.
version of yourself at something, then that is
That's
not
not happening
nurtured.
here.
That is
That's
not
not happening
encouraged
here,
only.
for sure. For sure, that's not happening here. And
Looked
of course,
down
I
upon.
mean, I think if you think about it and I open this chart, right? from the deficiency needs, maybe deficiency needs we have relatively taken care of, but the growth needs, I think we fail in every category.
Yeah, and we have never considered them as priority at all. Like, because we
Right,
have not been able to fulfill deficiency needs fully yet.
right, absolutely.
So yeah, I mean, I think
So,
it's a process, but we'll get there. Like, I still
absolutely,
believe
we'll
and I
of
stand
course.
by it that there's no other country that is better than India to live in the
Wow.
world right now. Because and solely because of the freedoms we have. There's no other country that offers such freedoms in a democratic system.
I don't know. I would like to disagree. In fact, one of the things which I have really deeply thought about is if and when I can afford it, I will get the fuck out. I am not staying here.
I've also considered that, but yeah, pata hai, honestly, also apart from the whatever I said कि वो सब needs अपनी fulfill यहाँ पे हो रही है and all that, but also माहौल डूड वाइब एक चीज होती है ना इंडिया में माहौल है यार तुम निकलो सड़कों पे सीन चल रहे हैं इंडिया में बाहर सब शांति से बैठे हैं सब अपने अपने घर में अच्छे गुड बॉयज की तरह यहाँ हल्ला मच रहा है यहाँ बैलगाड़ियां चल रही है गाय बीच में है चिल्लम चिल्ली हो रही है आई लाइक दैट आई इट्स जस्ट लाइवली वी आर नॉट laying down kind of a country. We're living it up kind of a country. There are fucking 24 festivals in 12 months. Every month we have two festivals. You won't get that vibe in any other country, dude. It's a crazy mixture of cultures, like so many cultures at one place, easily
Interesting.
accessible. So there's so much, dude. Like I मेरे को एक कंट्री बता है जहाँ पे इतना कुछ वैरायटी देखो मिल जाएगा एक ही जगह पे विद द फ्रीडम्स वी हैव नहीं मिलेगा कोई कंट्री नहीं है ढूंढ लो
I don't know. I have a no. So that's what I probably am a. I have a different outlook as to that's what. So this hierarchy of needs, guys. Each hierarchy is different for someone else.
या
The thing is, these are the stages which you follow. So for me, it would be something different. Like I would be one
तो
of the people who
मेरा लॉजिक है कि वो
prioritizes
लाइक फॉर मी
peace over all costs.
हाँ
I would
agreed like
prioritize. Yeah.
for you there's like even I want peace in my life है ना for that I can buy a home in the hills in India but for me day to day living में unless I have these interactions with all these people and unless I have a vibe going on in the city unless I have friends to chill with and talk to and fuck around with all of that combines to become an experience of living in a place, right? So I think all of that is important. Every
Okay.
city has a character, every place has a vibe to it. So I think those things are also important for your happiness as an individual, where you're living, the people
Okay.
you're interacting with, the kind of access you have to the kind of things you can do, that
Mm-hmm.
contributes largely to an individual's happiness. And I think
Right.
that social interaction is not there abroad. That is highly there in our country. We want to talk to people. And Indians are a talkative bunch. So yeah, I think
Interesting.
and that is my perspective. I love the way we have been growing as a country.
I guess that's one of the reasons why you've been breaking your head trying to figure out that why the hell would.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Dude, tell me another country जहाँ पे तू गली से निकल तेरे को लस्सी वस्सी मिलेगी तेरे को बढ़िया स्ट्रीट फूड मिलेगा तेरे को दो लोग मेले टाइप का कुछ चल रहा है वहाँ एंटरटेन कर रहा है लोग बैठे हैं आसपास देख रहे हैं ट्रैफिक में जाम हो रहा है so much happening dude in our country it's interesting Bahar it's just boring to be honest it's just monotony I hate monotony dude
I don't know. There's another line of thought that I feel
but yeah like I think
I'm just trying to figure out, if I were rich, would I like why am I not getting excited with some of the things which you're saying? One line of thought which I have is I think the richer you get, the more distant you want to become with people.
from the crowd yeah
I
that's the
think
thing yeah
I think that may be one of the contributing factors. What do you think?
Yeah, of course. Like that's a well established pattern if you see, and that has to happen also. Like you can't
Yeah,
once
you
you
can't be
start being
available.
rich, you can't be so available, and you won't be also because you already have prior commitments and all of that.
Yeah,
But I think to live a happy life, you need to be, you need to have these interactions, these experiences, like to live a fulfilled life, in my opinion. It's important. When I go to a place, when I meet a stranger, I'll sit down, I'll talk to him. If I like the guy, I'll vibe with him. I'll ask his story. I'll tell him my story. That's the kind of thing I like doing in our country. I'll do it everywhere else also, but kind of things I'll hear in our country, I don't think I'll hear anywhere else. So yeah.
got it. So yeah, this was it, guys. A really interesting question. We tried to answer it best of our ability. Tried to formulate some interesting ideas. Let us
Let us
know
know.
in the comments what you thought.
Yep.
Would love to hear what you have to say about this. Uh, that's all for today, guys. We'll catch you tomorrow.
Bye bye.